What's up, agency owners? Jason Swenk here with another episode of the Smart Agency Masterclass, a podcast for the digital agency owner that wants to scale and grow faster, but also create the freedom to pick and choose to do what they love doing in their agency and their life. And on today's episode, I have an amazing guest where we're going to talk about really kind of breaking that glass ceiling and really knowing how to charge what you're worth. I know we talk about pricing quite a bit, but we're going to go into a lot of different things in order to help you to get over that barrier so you can charge what you're worth. You can hire the right people. You don't have to do all the crap you don't want to do. So let's go ahead and get into the show. Hey, Kathryn, welcome to the show.
Oh, so good to be here. This is my favorite topic. I am here for you today. We're going to have some fun.
Well, awesome. Well, briefly tell us who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. So my name is Porrit. I own an agency called Icons Incorporated. Icons is a boutique agency. We look after some of the most elite personal brands on the planet, and we help them to transition from what we call mainstream pricing and mainstream offers to luxury offers. So my clients are landing, multi-million dollar deals in one transaction. They're doing, really big consulting gigs. They're doing major commercial deals, on advisory boards, mentoring, those sorts of things. So it's super fun. I love what I do, and we're creating connections for people for the sake of them leveraging their personal brand at the very highest level. So to me, it feels like on a day-to-day basis, why I get out of bed. It's pretty important, and it's pretty damn fun to do.
It is. I mean, and I've told so many people over the time, you have to build a personal brand within the agency. And that was a
Yeah.
huge mistake that I made when I was building the first agency. Was I put all my time and effort into marketing the agency, the faceless agency, rather than,
Mhm.
someone that they can actually connect to. And that was always a challenge. Why do you think people do that?
Look, I think there's a lot of sense to that philosophy around you. Particularly if you're building a brand to scale it to exit at some point in time. So the core business strategy tends to be build without you directly involved, so it's more attractive to a potential acquirer. That makes sense. Having said that, and I went through this myself, I had a very large e-commerce brand that I created, grew, and then sold. Then I was left with nothing. What do I do from now to start again? So what I advise people to do is do both and do them in parallel. Don't ignore your personal brand, because ultimately, even if you want to sell, what that's going to do is, if you've protected your personal brand, you've grown it, you've created some offers and commercialization around that. You are influencing, not a Kardashian influencing with suntan cream on the beach and those sorts of things, actually creating influence and creating a list of people who are going to follow you. You're nurturing those relationships. That's freedom. That's freedom, because then when you sell the other business, or you put it under management, or whatever it is that you're doing, you get to go and explore things with your personal brand. You get to write that big book, you get to do that big deal with Netflix, you get to be an advisor, you get to be a mentor, you get to be a consultant, you get to, write the book, whatever it is, you'll have the freedom to be able to do that and create, I mean, in my world, multi-millions of dollars off that personal brand, in your legacy years, which is, where the fun is for me.
Yeah, when I think back about it, took me probably 3 years of building this brand from after I sold the agency that it cost me for not building the
Right?
brand while I was doing the agency. Um, and yeah, and that's a mistake. I don't want all of you. I mean, that's why you guys listen to the show. I mean, avoid some of the stupid mistakes that I and some of the guests actually
Right.
made, so that you guys can actually avoid it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about kind of the price ceiling. And
Mm.
most people, that come to
Mhm.
us in the mastermind or just reach out, I'll say, what's your max price? And they'll say a number, and they have no idea why they said that number.
Mhm.
And I could only presume
Yeah.
with the people that you target too, they probably say that number and you probably like, I'd probably say double and you're probably like 100 times exit or whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah.
let's talk about the problem first, and then let's talk about the solution so people
Okay.
can actually charge a lot more.
Mhm. Okay. So the problem is the vast majority of us, our only experience with business strategy is in the mainstream end of the market. And that is, from the most basic core philosophical perspective, it's an ascension model. We're taught an ascension model in business school with an MBA. Most business coaches teach this: start from the bottom, build an audience, then incrementally increase your offers, and then at the top of at the bottom end of the pipeline, or if we're going up through the ascension model, eventually you'll get to the cream of the crop, and there'll be a handful of people who are going to pay you high ticket prices. To me, that's just nonsense when you are really good at what you do. What's not taught in the market, and I had a very large mainstream business too, so I'm in a really good position to look at the two different structures and see and tell you, what does it really look like in one that's an ascension model, multi-million dollars, hundreds of thousands of clients, versus one where it's a boutique luxury business, multi-million dollars, but a lot more elegant. And that's a luxury strategy. So if you really break down the difference between a mainstream brand that starts at the bottom and works its way up with that ascension model, or a luxury brand which starts at the top and then works its way down to still create the mass impact and all of those things, but they do it understanding that they've got a true leadership position in the market, an absolute unique, iconic position in the market, and that they're trend setting, they're going to be copied, all of those things. They're not looking to the market for the answers of what they're building. If that appeals to you, then starting at the top as a luxury brand with your personal brand will remove the price ceiling altogether, because then you become in a position of one, right? So it's a philosophical change. We need to strip back all of the
Mhm.
layers of what we've learnt from in a mainstream strategy. So when you start at the top, you're working with fewer clients, which, if you're an agency, means a handful of clients that you're working really, really deeply with. So there's potency to that. You're probably doing a deeper level of work. What I also know, and we can talk about this, is most of the clients who are investing at this level are easier to work with. You don't have to play the sink and the steak knives to work with them. And so then you can still create your scale if anyone's concerned about you. Just like a Chanel model, we've got the haute couture at the top, where they're just working with royalty, celebrities, custom made, um, and then you've got the ready to wear in the boutiques, gives you scale. And then right down the bottom, we've got licensing, we've got cosmetics, we've got perfume, we've got those sorts of things. So you still get the mass appeal. We're just doing it from the top down. So that's the core problem. The essence is that we're not taught that there's a different way of doing this. The Though I need to put a big caveat on, not everyone can get away with this. You have to be really, really good at what you do. But if you can figure out what are you really best in the world at, and it doesn't have to be, I'm the best agency at the world at lead generation. I'm talking about a very specific world-class solution that you provide or service provide. Once you can nail that positioning, then you can absolutely start at the top. If you've got the bravery, the audaciousness to go there, then going after a core set of clients who will pay you, invest very, very, heavily in you for that experience and that world class sort of proximity, then you can pretty much remove that feeling that you were talking about altogether. So,
Yeah. Well, it's like Steve Jobs, would say, is it's social currency, right? Like if you
right?
start at the top, like why do people wear, like I don't have an Apple Watch on, but like
Yeah,
so,
I
certain
do.
people,
Oh, no, I don't. I don't.
yeah, right? Like I have a different type of watch, but like when with Apple when they came out, it was like with the AirPods. If you think it was social currency,
Yeah.
like hey, I'm cool, I'm hip,
Mhm,
right? Like I'm, this is me. So I
mhm,
get all that, and I think everybody understands that. And if we understand,
Hmm.
and that's what I tell a lot of people too, is like, they're like, how do I double, triple, quadruple my
Yeah.
agency? I'm like, well, how good are you?
Mhm.
Like, that's a
Yeah.
big part of
So
it.
true. Mastery is important. Yeah.
Exactly. How do you position yourself? I think positioning is really kind of the next thing of going, all right, we have the best agency events in the world where we have the best people come here, right? How do you position
Mhm.
that?
And this is where people get in trouble as well, because we've got this sort of the humble in all of us. And what you are going to have to do in no uncertain terms is drop humble at the door. Doesn't mean that you can't be a nice person and you can't have ethics and all of those sorts of things, but I literally mean drop humble at the door and get beyond confident. Like, such a level of certainty is absolutely magnetic to the right, to that highest end of the market, the whole market, actually. I talk about this idea of actually stepping into the most arrogant version of yourself. The reason I use the word arrogance, because I know it's on the nose, but I use it with my clients because it's beyond confidence. It's a level of certainty that is just, it just needs to emanate from every pore of you. See, that's really the key to positioning and the key to becoming very magnetic is just when you step into any room, when you step onto any sales call, when you go to pitch anyone or you go to create a connection with anyone, if you can step into that with that level of power and that audacity to know that you are absolute, there is no one that can touch you in space, and you can clearly articulate what that is, you will become instantly magnetic. And I've seen it happen over and over again.
I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Like when you first started and you were saying drop humble at the door, I'm like, oh, I was like, no, like, because like, I'm like, so should I pose in front of a jet that I don't own and buy all
No,
these, like lease all these
no,
cars,
no.
right? Like, I hate those
Yeah,
people that do that.
me
And
too.
then I
Yeah.
think you kind of brought it around where you were like, you have to have absolute certainty that you know, because
Mhm.
look, I tell everybody, you may not be the best, but you should damn well think you're the best, right? Because
Mhm.
you're not the best for everyone, but you're the best for a
Mhm.
certain few. And I know when I'm
Yeah.
chatting with a particular agency owner that fits a build, I know without certainty that I can transform their company, their life, all that kind of stuff. But I've always had the problem, and I think a lot of agency owners have this problem as well, or people, is I don't want to brag. I feel like if you brag or just talk
Mhm.
about yourself, it's like putting so much salt on the steak, you're ruining the hell out of this amazing steak. So help me, because I think if you help me understand this, I think it'll help a lot of other people. Because a lot of people that listen to the show, they weren't attracted to the show based on me just talking about me, if that makes sense. Because I hate talking about me. I'm the
Yeah.
worst topic.
Right. I totally get everything that you've just said. Having said that, there is a space for all experts to step into that they can claim as their own best in the world. So there is a space for you and for everyone else who's listening to this show that you just need to be very specific. What is the biggest thing that you can absolutely, with complete and utter certainty and integrity, claim to be the best in the world at? And then let that emanate from every pore. That is not about bragging. It's not about, it's not the walking into a room and then being that person who everyone's like, oh, that guy's just full of BS. It's a truth, it's an honesty. It's about that genius that's within you and really owning it. And, often people will say, they can't teach charisma. And I call BS on that. You can teach charisma. Charisma is just quite simply that magnetic moment of you stepping into that absolute level of certainty about what you are the very best in the world. When you become untouchable, then you suddenly become really magnetic. And it's not about bragging, it's about the presence. We call it iconic embodiment. This is about you stepping on a stage and you just you own it. You know you're the best in the world at ABC. For me, it's a very specific thing. I'm only going to appeal to a very small portion of people in the world, and I'm okay with that. But for that portion of people, I am the magnet. I am the thing, the solution, the experience that they want to have because they're looking for that, very specific thing. So I think to your point, it's not about pretending or stepping into an alter ego, or there's no smoke and mirrors, snake oil about this. This is a truth and an honesty. And I would imagine that almost everyone who's listening to this, if they really think about it, and you'd be able to do this too, you really think about it, you know that there's an inner genius there. You know it. You've just been society said it's not okay to own that. I can't stand on a stage and claim that. Well, there's a position for you out there that you need to claim. And in order to get these big prices and those sorts of things, you don't have to be. I've got a client here in Australia, excuse my language, but when I started working with her, it's the funniest thing. I hope you get the context of this. She said, I'll do anything that you say, but don't turn me into a wanker. And what she meant by that was not, don't turn me into that guy with the private jet who's pretending with all
Yep.
puffery and all of sorts of things. I'm actually really bloody good at what I do. Just help me help the market see that for me. And that is about really great copy. It's going to be really about your brand. When people go see you, seeing the social proof, seeing the stories from people who are really high level, who talk about you don't have to brag, let your clients do it for you, let your results be world class. And, then that positioning becomes really clear. I don't sit around bragging about, you know, what I've done. I talk about how good my clients are and my place in that. So I hope that helps.
That definitely does, right? Like it
Mm.
I think we all need to think about what is that number one thing that you can be the best in the world at. And a lot of you that are not there yet, that should be your main goal is like, how can I get
Yeah.
this to the best experience, the best service, the best results? And and I think it will, I always talk about niching down. And that's a very important thing that you have to do. You can't say, when I sold the agency, I started doing videos. And literally, I was talking to anybody and everybody, and there was literally zero traction. Like, no, like,
Mm.
there's already people doing that. And like, who are you? Like, I've never heard of you. But then when I literally started just interviewing agency owners and then giving a couple little tips and information and just telling stories about like, this is what I did, this is how I felt, this is what happened, and this is the result. Like, this is how you can go do it. And then it started really kind of clicking. And I know exactly what you're talking about because, when I'll get on a stage to agency owners, and that's the key. Um,
Yeah.
I'm very confident. Like I know no one can touch me. But if I got
Yeah.
and here's an example. I spoke at a digital marketer in front of all these agency owners, and there was a lot of other people in the room too.
Mm.
But this one company came up to me after, was like, "I want you to speak at our karate event in Vegas." I'm like, "Oh, that's not my audience, but here's the speaking fee." They hit it. I'm like, "Okay." I bombed. Like it was horrible. Like they just
Yeah.
didn't get it because like my whole content is around that. So let that be a lesson to all of you is like pick something that when you're about to step on stage, no one could even touch you. And I think, you don't have to be arrogant. You can just talk confidently and I think it'll come through. So, and I think I
Yeah.
still think you have to have a little bit of humble in there, but you are the expert at that too. And I have so much humble pie. I probably have too much.
Look, it's a good point, and every single one of my clients is, they've got some sort of social good that they want to achieve with their wealth. And if they're doing these big deals, every single one of them, they're looking to shift a paradigm. They're creating a legacy. Impact's really important to them. So I'm definitely not in the world of, in the world of assholes who are pretenders using
Yeah.
their ego and all of those sorts of they're really good people. But I think you get the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying here about drop humble, because that pretending that you're not as good as you are is what is the chief
Yes.
problem with you attracting the sort of connections and deals that you're really looking to do.
I'm thinking of a mastermind member right now. You know who you are. We were at our agency experience, and she was like, "I don't want to create videos like for this point. Like she is really amazing for
Mhm.
this particular industry and doing this particular service.
Yeah.
Like if I get too descriptive,
Mhm.
they'll know who I'm pinning point out. But you know who you are." Um, and and we literally told her, we're like, you are amazing, like you just helped us all out. And like every month we do like this what's working now, a member shares, and she rocked it. And she's like, I don't want to do videos, I'm horrible, like imposter syndrome. But she is one of the best for that industry. And I think you just,
Yeah.
if you don't know it, no one else knows it, honestly.
100%. It's very, very attractive quality, knowing your worth, knowing your genius, and really stepping
Yeah.
into it for sure. Yeah.
Well, Kathryn, this has been amazing. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit, the listeners listening in?
I think just from my perspective, just a sort of practical thing around, you know, how do you land on a price? Um, uh, that we use 100K as a yardstick, um, which we've stopped doing with a lot of my clients because it was keeping them small. But I would say to you, really think about, particularly with the economy as it is right now, think about the structure of what you're doing. If you're starting to find it quite difficult at the low end of the market, think about, is there a different strategy where you could work with clients more deeply? And they may be your existing clients, and then really think through what the pricing might be if you work with fewer people more deeply. Um, a lot of my clients are going through this process at the moment where they're looking to transform from, you know, high ticket, that sort of thing, to, okay, instead of that, I might just work with 6 to 10 clients really deeply through these next couple of years with the, you know, impending doom of the economy. But the people who can afford the investment, we can go there with them and then ride it out and then build their, you know, build their base, so that they've got really good foundation for when things start to feel a little better. So that would be the only thing. Just think about, you know, whatever that price is, doesn't have to be 100K, but at least that, love it to be that. Really think about how could you restructure if things are getting a little bit difficult, so that you're giving more love less people and being paid at a higher level. So hopefully that sort of helps some people who are in a bit of a pickle at the moment.
That's good advice. And I'll add on to that. When you're thinking about charging a lot more than you're usually doing, the mistake is thinking about what else do I need to deliver? I need to deliver that much more. We're literally just talking about just charging more based on what you're worth, not doing more. So don't fall into that trap. I see so many people
Mhm.
falling into that trap.
You are absolutely spot on. I literally, just to follow that through, I was just listening to one of my clients almost cock up a sales call with $1 million client. And it was so hilarious, but what she'd done is it was the first time she'd sold a $1 million consulting gig, and so she was so caught up in the price that she started to get nervous as he sat there silently, and she started putting more and
Talking.
more and more and more into it. Yeah, I'll give you this, we'll do this, and we'll do this. And the guy, who's an ultra high net worth individual, said, "Stop. I don't want any of that. I just want to know, how do I get to where he wanted to get to as quickly, as efficiently, and as effectively as possible, and have a great experience with you and I together." That's it.
Yep.
So he actually saved her from herself, thank goodness. But I think it's a really good example of what you can do at the highest level. What's the deepest, most potent thing you can do? What's the best experience you can give someone? And really allow yourself to go there. That's what, to me, that's where the fun is, right? With agency work.
I think you were working with my ex business partner because I remember he would he would go in and I remember sitting in a meeting with him And he'd be like, it's 100K. And I'm like, is that a freaking question? And then they would sit
Right.
silent. And I'm like, no, like you say the price and you shut up. Even how awkward it is, however, whoever talks
Yeah.
first loses. And I always
Right.
remembered that. And he would just throw up. Like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're never
Yeah.
allowed on these calls ever again.
No. No, I wouldn't let him on there either.
I was like,
Absolutely.
geez,
Yeah.
man, you just taught, you were like, oh, it's 100K. Oh no, and then he settled for like 40K. I'm like, holy cow. Like they would have said
No.
yes to probably 200K. Like, so,
Right. Yeah. Let that
um,
be an absolute lesson for sure, for sure.
oh,
So funny.
I'm starting to lose my hair again, just thinking of it. So,
I'm with you.
oh
I'm
well.
with you.
All right. What's the website people can go and check out the agency?
Yeah, we're at iconsincorporated.com. So we'd love to see you there. You can also check out 100koffers.com if you really want to get specific around how to do that pricing model.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming
Yeah.
on the show. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, share it out. And if you guys really want to change the game of your agency and really have us look at the agency and see where your gaps are and what you need to be doing and really put a game plan together with you, I want all of you to go to jasonswank.com/game plan. And until next time, have a swank day.